Thank you for your patience. We are going to now open up the webinar and allow participants to come in. Attendees will be joining us. And so while we are doing that, we'll just introduce you a little bit. We're so honored to have you today. Jennifer Nolan, she said it's okay to call her Jennifer. Jennifer Nolan is the author of Sea Turtles Up Close, among other things, but I think that's what she's going to kind of share with us today. There are questions, so YouTube, you're welcome to ask us questions and I'll send those in to Ms. Nolan. Also attendees, you're allowed to use the Q&A feature to also send questions, and we encourage that. So without any further ado, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn off my mic and camera so they can learn with you.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It's always an interesting experience when you're talking to a large group, a large audience, but you don't see them. But I do feel you. I feel your presence. I feel your interest and concern in protecting our planet. And what I would love to do is help you fall in love today. So I have been a guest speaker with Skype in the classroom for the last 8 years. And every time I connect with students all around the world, what I do is I start my classes by saying this wonderful quote by Jacques Cousteau, which is that people protect what they love. So if I do my job well today, you're going to fall in love with sea turtles. We're going to talk about sea turtles as an example of a threatened species that needs us to basically be their voice, that needs us to show up with compassion and care and a desire to ensure that these species, 7 of them all together, all endangered, 3 critically endangered, we can do this. We can make a difference. We can help protect them. And when we do that, we have to think about the environment in which they live in, which is our oceans. Our oceans cover 71% of our planet. I use this little teeny marble that is basically a little marble of planet Earth. And I remind the students and anyone I talk to at any age that basically the Earth is in our hands. It is up to us what we leave to the future generations. And there's a wonderful Native American expression that basically we do not inherit the Earth. We borrow it from future generations. So we don't inherit it from our ancestors, we borrow it from future generations. And we shouldn't do anything to this planet that will impact the next 7 generations to come. So that is a tall order today, based on the way in which we as a human society, as humanity, when we look at our actions over the last 100 years per se, with the Industrial Revolution, for example, here in the United States, we look at the way we've been treating our planet for the last 100 years, and it's kind of as if we lived in a house and we didn't take good care of it. We've been trashing our home. It's time to clean up our act. It's time to be better members of our society. And let's start with taking one example, as I mentioned, sea turtles. When we look at them, it's a prime example of a species that's been around for millions of years. Specifically, sea turtles, 110 million years. When you think about that, we really are the new kids on the block. Turtles in general, which we refer to as chelonians, turtles and tortoises, have been roaming the planet for 230 million years. They evolved into ocean creatures, and they've been here in the ocean 110 million years. So now we, the oldest fossils ever found, with any kind of human features at all, are approximately 300,000 years old. So that's why I refer to humanity as the new kids on the block. So this is our opportunity to say, we can do a better job for all of those creatures that came here before us. So let me start with this. Not trying to sell the book, but just sharing with you. Sea Turtles Up Close is a book I wrote quite a few years ago now with a ocean conservationist, world-renowned shark expert, and award-winning nature photographer, Jim Abernathy. To show you a typical day at work for Jim Abernathy, I'll show you the cover of another book we did, which is Sharks Up Close. We are focusing on endangered marine life, and we're trying to help people understand the true nature of these creatures and also help people understand what they can do to protect them. When we think about sea turtles and sharks, we think about the ocean. As I mentioned, 71% of our planet is covered with water. That is their home. So if we care about sea turtles and sharks, we need to care about the ocean. But guess what? Here's the really cool thing. When you care about the oceans, you actually care about yourself. Every other breath of oxygen you take comes from the ocean. It's produced by what we call single cell microscopic plant life, better known by the scientists as phytoplankton. So all those floating plants in the ocean that we can even photograph with satellites up in space, when you look down at the ocean, you see these big giant sheets of like greens and blues, like these neon colors essentially in some of these images. That is your life support system. That is the plant life that is absorbing carbon dioxide and putting out oxygen for us. Every other breath you take, no matter where you live on the planet, comes from the ocean. How do we protect that oxygen source? We do it by protecting the planet. How do we do that? We think about our actions. We think about our choices. We think about what's on our plate. We think about how we pollute or don't pollute. We think about recycling or not recycling. We think about things that create the greenhouse gases that make the earth warm up. I know that on the webinar today, I am speaking to students anywhere from 4th grade, possibly into college. So I'm going to try to stay a little bit to the left and the right here when we talk about how complicated we're going to get. I'm not going to get into ocean acidification and carbonic acid and how all those things happen that makes our oceans more acidic, but we will talk about things that can be simplified that are yet complicated. Like if we pollute, our planet heats up. That's really simple. So we can understand that the more we do things that use more fossil fuels, oil, coal, and natural gas, the more we heat up the planet. The more we warm up the planet, the more we warm up the oceans. The more we warm up the oceans, the less happy those plants are, which happen to create 50%, if not 80%, according to some scientists, of the oxygen we breathe. So basically, a set of lungs exists in the ocean for us. And we're going to find out in this class together that we have a lot more in common with sea turtles than you may believe. You ready for this list? They breathe oxygen like we do. They live 80 to 100 years old like we do. They can taste and smell. They have ears just hidden under a thin layer of skin. I'm going to show you a screen share in a minute. We're going to go through a lot of really cool photographs. So we're going to feel like we're scuba diving together. We're going to feel like we're diving into the ocean together, and you're going to meet all of these beauties. Another thing we share in common is that, believe it or not, they eat a lot of the things that we like. Happens to be seafood. For those of you that love eating mussels and clams and snails like escargot in France, or lobster like here in Maine where I live, guess what? Sea turtles go after some of the same things. They have a lot more in common than not when it comes to how we relate. So they might look different, they might live underwater, but like us, they need to surface to breathe. For us, we're breathing every day. They're breathing every day too. Every 5 to 20 minutes, they surface for a breath of oxygen. And when they do, they exchange about 80% of the oxygen in their lungs. So with all of that said, as kind of a quick intro, let me just tell you this. Here's what we're going to do. Let's learn about sea turtles. Let's hear some of the beautiful, interesting things about them. Let's talk about the 7 different species. And then let's look at some of the challenges. And then I want you to come away from this webinar feeling wildly empowered. I want you to have a list of things that you can do to make a difference. And it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what your income level is. It doesn't matter whether you're in a landlocked state or country. It doesn't matter if you live on a sailboat. There are things we can do no matter where we are, no matter what age we're at, etc., to make a difference. So hopefully when we are wrapping up, you're going to have this awesome list of things. But what I really hope is that you've fallen in love with sea turtles, a little bit with sharks too, if I'm successful and have a little bit of time to share with you about sharks, and you fall in love with our oceans in general. I hope that I create a whole crowd of mermaids and mermen out there. So with that said, I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to take all of you to a slideshow that I like to share with students all around the world. Like I said, I've been doing these online classes for 8 years now, and I volunteer my time doing this because I'm extremely passionate about ocean conservation and protecting endangered species. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I am a mother of 4. I care about my kids inheriting a beautiful planet. But the truth of the matter is, I care about all kids around the world. I want everybody to inherit a beautiful planet. So I work for all of you. I volunteer my time online. I write these books to inspire. I serve on the board as board chair of Oceanic Preservation Society and also director of engagement at OPS as well. And then I serve on a number of other nonprofit boards, all focused on protecting our environment. Why? Because the future of the planet is in our hands. And I love to share this quote. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. And what I say is that applies to all beings, not just humans. And here we find in the ocean this incredible biodiversity that welcomes us into their world peacefully and beautifully. This is an image of Luis Hoyos swimming with a beautiful humpback whale. I've had the honor and the pleasure of doing this. It's not scary. It's actually incredibly thrilling. Remember that, sorry, I'm trying to bring the next photo. Every day should be World Kindness Day. Every day we should be taking care of the planet and each other. One of the reasons the planet, remember, it produces all the oxygen that we need to breathe and to survive. The other big set of lungs on the planet is the rainforest. Most of you probably already know that. And again, to talk about what's waiting for us down there in the ocean, when you have the pleasure of scuba diving and getting to know these creatures, even 15-foot tiger sharks, we can interact with all these creatures like you see some of my colleagues and I doing in this image. 15-foot tiger shark, absolutely a spiritual experience. When we come to understand the true nature of these beautiful creatures in the ocean, we better come to understand what they need to survive. And the wonderful quote I share all the time is by Luis Hoyos, the CEO and the founder of OPS where I work. When you're talking about losing all of nature, it's not a spectator sport anymore. We all need to get involved. So let's dive in now to the world of sea turtles. Bear with me, my images are slow moving here. So if you want to fall in love with sea turtles, here's an easy way to do it. Take a look at them. They are adorable. They can live, as I mentioned, 80 to 100 years old if they are free of plastic pollution, pollution in the ocean, long fishing lines. Some of those fishing lines run 40 to 60 miles long with thousands of hooks on them. Here's the good news. For everything tough I share, I'm going to share with you really good news too. Remember this. Countries all around the world are starting to protect sea turtles. There are more and more protections put out there. We also have large fishing nets that now have something called TEDs, turtle excluder devices. And somewhere around, I believe it's 97% of turtles caught in nets that have TEDs installed in them, those turtles are able to escape. I'm going to take you to the next photo here. My slideshow is moving a little slow for some reason. So baby sea turtles, when sea turtles are incubating in a nest on the beach, there can be anywhere from 50 to about 160 eggs. For example, the largest sea turtle is called the leatherback, and I'm going to go through the list in a moment, but just quickly, the leatherback sea turtle has about 80 eggs in its nest. We call that nest a clutch of eggs. They're going to incubate anywhere from 45 to 90 days. And then all the sea turtles at the same time break out of their shell, climb out of the nest, and scurry to the ocean. They instinctually do this. The mother sea turtle lays the nest and she will never return. She does her job and she goes right back to the ocean where she is most safe. So everything that these sea turtles do, they do based on instinct. I'm sorry, my slideshow's hopping around here. We see on that shell all those little sections. We call those scutes. I like to share this image to remind people that the future of sea turtles is in fact in their hands. Here you see me swimming, scuba diving with a hawksbill sea turtle. And the cool thing about this is by the time I came across this sea turtle, I had already been diving for about 40 minutes. So I only had about 20 minutes left. She was able to stay down for a while longer before she surfaced. But when she did, we got to follow her all the way up, or Jim did. So speaking of Jim, he is the photographer of 90% of the images you're going to look at today. Jim Abernathy, images.com. You can see his beautiful work. Just Google Jim Abernathy, shark expert, Jim Abernathy, nature photographer. You will find him, follow him on Instagram. This man literally pioneered swimming with sharks without a cage. He has been doing it for approximately 35 years. He got me to go shark diving many times. All 4 of my sons are now certified scuba divers. They've all gone shark diving with me. And I can tell you, if I thought it was not worth the risk, I would not bring my kids down to do it. I really feel that it is a safe thing to do. It's more dangerous to drive down the road. It's certainly more dangerous to text and drive. Please don't do that. We know that it's in terms of shark bites, shark attacks that become fatal. The average is 5 to 12 fatal shark bites a year worldwide out of 7 billion plus people, 5 to 12 annually. I will share with you just a couple stats. We also know that approximately, imagine this, 250,000 sharks are killed. Do you think I'm going to say every day, every hour, every week, every month, or every year? The answer is 250,000 sharks are killed every single day. And there's no debate around this because the fisheries that are doing it are the ones admitting it and giving us those stats for the most part. So this is not some crazy science. The truth of the matter is we need people like Jim Abernathy out there documenting these beautiful creatures, turning the ocean into their office. By the way, that's a wonderful career. Turn the ocean into your office, and you will have a very good day at work every day and be making a difference at the same time. And in addition to a paycheck, you have that paycheck which is feeding you spiritually and on an emotional level. This is a typical day at work for Jim Abernathy. Those are lemon sharks. I've been on dives with him like that, where I'm in the water with over 30 sharks, and it's an absolute thrill. So 250,000 sharks die every single day. That is not sustainable. They've been in the ocean for over 400 million years. There are over 400 different shark species. So when we talk about protecting threatened and endangered species in the ocean, I love to talk about sea turtles, but I can't not also bring up sharks. I share The Secret of Pig Island with you on this webinar today. This is the first book I did with Jim. You can find it on Amazon.com. It's about a little pig named Plato, and Plato is trying to inspire everyone to protect planet paradise. And Plato lives on Pig Island and has a message for all of humanity. It's written in rhyme, it's won multiple book awards, and we're very proud of it. The next book that we did was Sharks Up Close. And this one has also won multiple awards and takes you into the world of sharks. Lots of beautiful images to show people shark diving and doing all sorts of interesting work with sharks. And then the next one we did is sea turtles up close. And so let's dive now into that world that we're talking about, the underwater ocean world, this incredible biodiversity. This is a picture of a giant grouper. It ends up on a lot of restaurant menus, but the truth of the matter is Jim and a lot of his diving friends down in Florida know a lot of groupers by name. This is one of the best days in the ocean I ever had in my entire life, swimming with beautiful, beautiful whale sharks. They grow up to 40 feet long, 10 to 15 tons in size, and they are just gentle giants. They migrate through the waters off the coast of Cancun in Mexico, and that's a beautiful place to go experience some amazing ecotourism. When we fall in love with these beautiful creatures, as I mentioned, hopefully we then get inspired to protect them. This is another fabulous day I had underwater, connecting with these beautiful, beautiful spotted dolphins in the Bahamas. Another amazing experience. This right here, is a Hawksbill sea turtle. That is the same one you saw me with a few minutes ago, but that now is me in the back saying, my oxygen has run out. And one more image of underwater. This is shark diving with two of my sons, Connor and Jared. And this is a 9-foot lemon shark that we actually got to spend some really special time with. And when they are lying in the sand doing something we call buccal pumping, that means they can stop swimming and still pump the water through their gills, therefore the oxygen through their body. You're able to actually give them a little back rub and a little head rub. You do this with expert scuba divers, master divers, shark experts. You do not jump into the ocean and decide that sharks are cuddle bunnies and you can pet like a dog. It's about learning how to do it the right way, the safe way. So I am going to take you now through the different types of sea turtles. That is a baby leatherback, but I'm going to bring you here first to this guy. Tortoises and turtles, as we mentioned, called chelonians, on the planet 230 million years. They eventually evolved into ocean creatures. This is a close-up of a loggerhead. The turtles and the tortoises, the primary difference, tortoises live on the land, grasslands, deserts, forests. They will drink fresh water. Turtles are going to live in aquatic environments like freshwater and saltwater, but some will be able to go onto land. Actually, they all do. This is a snapping turtle I found down in South Carolina on a golf course. It lives in the pond, but it's going to walk around on land when it chooses to. And what you're going to see here, this snapping turtle I found at my home, you're going to see those claws. Let me share this image with you right here. You're going to see those claws because it goes onto the land. It needs to have that traction ability. Turtles are going to be able to pull their limbs and their head in and tuck into their shells. Sea turtles are not going to do that. They have a very different design when it comes to making them what we call hydrodynamic. That is making it so they can carve through the water with the least amount of resistance. So they do not have the ability to pull in their limbs or their head. You can see there in this image, the forelimbs, that those two arms basically function like wings. The two back limbs function like rudders on a boat, helping them move to different directions. So let me take you now to more of the sea turtles. I want to get you to the list. Bear with me. I know we're going. There we go. Here are the 7 species, the largest to the smallest. The largest is the leatherback. These are beautiful images taken by Jim. The leatherback grows on average 800 to 1,000 pounds, but it can go all the way to 2,000 pounds. The world record found off the coast of Wales in 1988, 2,020 pounds, if you can imagine, 6 to 8 feet in length. Very easy to identify. Their shell, which we call the carapace, has those white lines that run down the back. It's called the leatherback, I believe, pretty much because the carapace feels like wet leather or like a truck tire. You cannot miss this shell. It's different than any other of the other 6 species. This one being the 7th and the largest, the leatherback. When we talk about it being the largest, get a load of this. That is how big they get. It is really hard to comprehend. I'm going to share a few images of the leatherback so you can get a sense. If you see an adult sea turtle on the beach, it is doing one thing and one thing only. It is a female nesting, creating the next generation. No next generation, no sea turtle. Here's an image that Jim took that really gives you a sense of scale. It's really mind-boggling when you think about it. So these beautiful female adult sea turtles, they need to reach the age of 7 or 10 or 20 or even 30 years old, depending on the species. Then they are old enough to become moms, to reproduce in the ocean, go instinctually back to the general geographic area from where they first originated. And that is where they will dig a nest using primarily their back limbs. They will lay that clutch of eggs anywhere between 50 to 160. They will cover up that nest and mama will go right back to the ocean. When those babies come out, everything they do is based on instinct. It's really quite fascinating when you think about it. So this leatherback is the largest, as we mentioned, growing up to 2,000 pounds for some, but on the average 800 to 1,000. The next one is the green sea turtle. The green sea turtle is absolutely stunning. It's called the green sea turtle for a few reasons. One, it is primarily a vegetarian, eating only a plant-based diet once it reaches the adult life. The green sea turtle will grow to about 100, um, 500 pounds, and it will lay about 115 eggs per clutch. Here's another image of a green sea turtle. Also, the meat, I've been told when people in certain parts of the world want to eat sea turtles, they're going to eat the eggs. They're going to cook the eggs up just like it's chicken eggs. They're going to eat the meat. They're going to use the oil. They're going to use the leather from the skin. They're going to use the shell sometimes for artwork. Sometimes they'll turn it into accessories, from belt buckles to purses, things on their shoes, crazy stuff. Please, please, please never buy any products that are derived from sea turtles, and the same goes for any shark products. Don't even buy shark teeth on a necklace or anything. Remember, Wild Aid said it perfectly. When the buying stops, the killing can too. If we don't buy it, they won't sell it. It's all about supply and demand. So the green sea turtle growing up to 500 pounds. The next one, the next largest in size, is the loggerhead. Take a look at the neck on that sea turtle. It is enormous. I'm scuba diving with that beauty that day, and my arms are stretching out, and it's just about the same wingspan as I have. These grow up to 450 pounds. That big neck is like a big giant log, so it got that name, the loggerhead. The next one is the hawksbill. Look at that beak, that sharp beak, just like the bird that we call a hawk. Reminds me to tell you all, sea turtles do not have teeth. They have extremely sharp beaks and strong jaws that can cut through the foods that they like to eat, just like pruning shears. So sea turtles, let me remind you, are not dangerous. They welcome you into their world. You can scuba dive with them, you can snorkel with them. They may dart at you a little bit if you get too close or you overstay your welcome, but they're really not a species in any way to be afraid of. So just respect their space. Remember, it's not a petting zoo down there. And remember, they don't have teeth, and they're just busy trying to find food. They are navigating thousands of miles in their lifetime. They use something that we don't have. It's called magnetic field detection. It's as if they are, or because they are, connected to the Earth's magnetic field. So it's as if they have a GPS system built in. They can travel thousands of miles in their lifetime. They can be born on the shores of Florida and travel all the way over to the shores of Greece and Africa. They can travel all around the world, and they can still come back to the basic vicinity geographical area where they were born, particularly the females when they want to create that nest. And again, that might be a beach they haven't been to for 20 or 25 or 30 years, and they can find their way back. We believe that they also use celestial navigation, markings in the sky, ocean currents, geographical markings in the ocean floor, all types of things that fascinate scientists. The next sea turtle is the flatback, and we know that it got this name from that very flat carapace. You can't miss it. Primarily, this sea turtle is a homebody, living off of the coast of Australia for the most part, grows to about 200 pounds. The next one is the olive Ridley. Got its name, I think, largely from the coloration of its shell, the carapace. As you can see in this image, very, very green. This one grows to about 180 pounds. The olive Ridley, for example, puts about 110 eggs in its nest on average. And then the smallest one is the Kemp's Ridley, named after Dr. Kemp that found and discovered this species. The smallest of all, 80 to 100 pounds, extremely arched carapace, you can't miss it, lives primarily in the Gulf of Mexico. And when we had the BP oil spill in 2010, with 210 million gallons of crude oil spilling into the Gulf, it devastated this species. We didn't have a lot left at the time, and now even worse. Slowly, we're seeing some sea turtle species coming back. There was an article, I think it was in 2018, that for the first time in decades, sea turtle populations were on the rise. Why? Hopefully it's because more protections are in place. More people are saying, maybe I shouldn't take that sea turtle nest and take the eggs from it. Hopefully less people are buying sea turtle products. Hopefully because more fisheries are using turtle excluder devices. If you want to think about something being unfair, imagine two giant trawling fishing boats with a massive net stretched in between them that just plows through the ocean like a snowplow and catches everything in its grip. And when those nets catch something they don't intend to catch, we call that bycatch, caught by mistake. For every 1 pound of seafood that ends up on dinner plates around the world, it's equivalent to 12 pounds of bycatch. So when we talk about buying seafood that is only caught sustainably, that's a really important way to become part of the solution. Be what we call a conscientious consumer. Conscientious consumers basically vote with their dollar or whatever currency they use. They think about the fact that they don't want to buy something that shouldn't have been sold or manufactured or caught in the first place. So be a smart shopper. You vote with every single cent you spend. You send a message all the way to the top. Yes, go catch more of that, kill more of that, make more of that, or don't. When a product sits on the shelf, believe me, the people at the top of those corporations, they say, wow, our sales are plummeting. There's no demand for this, and they will stop doing it. So when we talk about all these different species, let's mention a few things again. Sea turtles taste and smell like we do. They can hear like we do. Let me show you an image here. Set right behind their eyes, thin layer of skin. That's where their ears are located. They do very well hearing low frequency sounds. They do better listening to sounds, searching for sounds underwater, but they can also hear on the surface. Remember that they breathe oxygen. They are surfacing every 5 to 20 minutes. They can stay down up to an hour if they are in a resting state, kind of like taking a nap, if you will. And then let's talk a little bit about the reproduction situation of a sea turtle. Mama sea turtle is going to go to the beach. She's going to dig that nest. She is going to lay those eggs. This is what it looks like. This is what a mom is doing in the sand. If you see an adult, that's what's going on. The clutch of eggs will incubate, as we said, let me bring you to this image, sorry, right here. That clutch of eggs will incubate anywhere between 45 to 90 days after the mom has deposited those eggs in that nest she dug. They're basically the size of a ping pong ball. And then when it's game time, all these little sea turtles take off and they head right to the ocean. They're drawn to the ocean for several reasons, but all driven by instinct. There are no road signs. The slant of the beach often is telling them, hey, it's easier to go downhill. It calls them to go downhill. And the moonlight and the sunlight on the ocean also are going to call them to the water instinctually. We know they're attracted to that light reflecting off the water and on the horizon. They're often going to the ocean during dawn and dusk. We do know when there's light pollution from parking lots and development on beaches, sometimes baby sea turtles get confused and they can go in the wrong direction. So once they're in the ocean, then they're going to hide in some of the sargassum, the seaweed, to stay protected. They're going to start to forage for food. Remember, they are on the food chain. There are many predators. We're talking about everything from sharks in the ocean and some of the largest pelagic fish, and then also human threats with the fishing lines and the nets, etc. But when they're on the beach, when these little beautiful creatures are starting their journey, there are many threats as well. There's foxes, raccoons, coyotes, dogs, frigate birds, crabs, fire ants, plastic debris and garbage on the beach, big holes that are dug by people that haven't been filled back in, all different types of complications that make it hard for them to make it to the ocean. We know that about 1 in every 1,000, sometimes 1 in every 7,000, according to some studies, of sea turtles will make it all the way to adulthood to be able to reproduce. What do sea turtles like to eat? Number one of their favorite things, jellyfish. What looks a lot like a jellyfish? Well, unfortunately, a lot of our plastic waste. So we want to keep plastic bags and things like that out of the ocean. Sea turtles are going to eat squid. They're going to eat sponges. They're going to go after a lot of bioluminescent creatures, which are basically like glow in the dark. Sea turtles have the ability to see in color, and they also appreciate a broader spectrum of light than we do as people. So they can see some of those ultraviolet light colors. But let's talk about the jellyfish issue again. Jellyfish are on their diet along with all kinds of shellfish, as we mentioned before. Mussels, crabs, clams, snails, lobsters, horseshoe crabs, etc. So there's a lot they want to eat, and they're really good at finding the food, but they will ingest plastic too. 100% of the sea turtles that do not survive, either for natural causes that they've reached their life expectancy, or they've had some kind of injury or illness, 100% of them that are dissected at the Loggerhead Marine Life Center in Florida. Please look them up. Please think about supporting them. They do beautiful work. Loggerhead Marine Life Center in Florida. There's also the Sea Turtle Hospital in Florida that does great work. 100% of the sea turtles they dissect, they find plastic in them. 100%. That's a sobering statistic. They ingest the plastic. So we can do a better job being better stewards of our overall environment. Let's use reusable bags. Let's not use plastic straws. We're going to go through that list. I'm watching the clock here before we wrap up. Let's remember, our ocean is not a garbage dump. Just because we can put something in the ocean and it sinks to the bottom doesn't make it okay. It is not our place and our right to dump our waste in the ocean. Let's think about this statistic. About 320 million tons of plastic is manufactured every single year worldwide, and all plastic made is still here. Again, vote with your currency. If you stop buying plastic junk, if you stop buying stuff that's irresponsibly packaged with plastic, they will be forced to change what they're making and what they're selling. 8.8 million tons of plastic ends up in the ocean every single year. And 90% of that comes from 10 major rivers. So it's not just people out on a beach or in a boat. 90% of it is coming from these avenues basically that make it all the way to the ocean. And there's many other ways it gets there. But we can make a difference by not buying it to begin with. If you don't buy it, you don't even have to recycle it. But if you do buy it, please recycle it. 8.8 million tons of plastic ends up in the ocean each year. There's the Pacific garbage patch the size of Texas or 3 Frances, and it's still growing. There are many reasons to be hopeful. Many countries now are embracing much better recycling programs. If you want to see one of the best ones, check out Sweden. They are winning the race on that one. But 8.8 million tons equals 1 dump truck worth of plastic per minute going into the ocean. So in the 1 hour we spend together, that's 60 more dump trucks of plastic going in the ocean, and sea turtles are ingesting it. When I was swimming with whale sharks in Mexico, I saw this big white plastic bag floating in the ocean, and a whale shark coming right at me, about to ingest it as it's trying to eat all these little fish eggs, which is how it feeds itself. Millions of fish eggs is what it's trying to ingest as it comes through those waters. And I grabbed that plastic bag just in time. Imagine that. How many times a day is that happening to whale sharks and all kinds of marine life in the ocean? It's unacceptable. We must do better. When you see fishing line out there, when you see plastic waste, please pick it up everywhere you go. It is not fair for a baby sea turtle to try to make its way over plastic bottles to get into the ocean. Here is a day I had in the Dominican Republic, off about 70 miles off the coast of the DR, swimming in a place called the Silver Banks to have encounters with humpback whales, and found this massive piece of plastic in the ocean. This is a real photo. This is taken in a bay or harbor. I believe it was off the coast of South America. Imagine that. We are, as humanity, responsible to clean up our act. One dump truck worth of plastic waste per minute is not sustainable, not acceptable. And we are finding this plastic. You are what you eat. Well, when all this plastic breaks down into microparticles in the ocean, and then fish eat that, and then we catch the fish and it ends up on our dinner plate, we are ingesting plastic. So we need to care not just for the marine life, but for our own health. We can do better. We must do better. And it is possible to do better. A wonderful group of students over in Bosnia sent me this little drawing, and I love sharing it with all of you. Just no more bags, no more plastic straws. We can do better than that. Use no straw, use a metal straw, use a glass straw, but something like 500 million straws are used in the United States alone. That's despicable. These little guys are calling out for us to change our ways and do better. And we can, we're capable of that. And what I want for all of you is I want you to have opportunities to go scuba diving like I have, for your kids one day to go diving and come across these beautiful creatures and experience this. I want you to be able to look closely into the eye of a beautiful loggerhead sea turtle and realize you're basically looking into the eyes of a dinosaur. Dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. These guys stuck around. They survived. But we've got to do better. We've got to do better. Look at this. That's a real photo. No animal should eat plastic for lunch. We can do better. I want you to get in the ocean and have this kind of experience, touching a sea turtle or touching a shark, and realizing we can all love each other. We can all exist on this planet together. Look at these beautiful creatures. Look at that. 110 million years. And we may be responsible for wiping them out. That's unacceptable. And the good news is, when you know what causes the problem, you know how to solve it. We can do this. Now, I'm going to empower you. Here's one thing. Go into marine biology, go into ocean conservation, become a sea turtle scientist like Dr. Jeanette Weinekin here. Get involved in all the interesting studies. Get involved in getting in the ocean, turning the ocean into your office. They do these satellites, and then they're able to track where sea turtles go. And then the cool thing is they're able to identify important areas to protect, marine protected areas where there can be no oil drilling, no oil exploration, no commercial fishing, high fines for any pollution. You can work in national parks. You can be part of rescue, rehabilitation. You can be part of returning sea turtles to the ocean. This is an amazing, amazing arena to work in. You work with beautiful people with big hearts. You can make a difference. You can be part of the solution. You can be part of protecting these incredible creatures. There's so much we can do. Now I'm going to roll way back to the beginning of my slideshow. Bear with me and let me share a few points with you here. What are some things we can do? Reusable water bottles, reusable bags, reusable straws, reusable utensils. We do not need to be using all these plastic bags. We do not need to be using all of these straws. And then here's another really, really big one, a plant-based diet. Let me share with you this really quickly. And I've got to keep an eye on the time. Wow, we're almost running out of time and I haven't taken questions yet. I'm so sorry. This could be like a 2 or 3 hour course. There's so much to talk about. Let me just spend 60 seconds on a plant-based diet. If you are eating a lot of beef, remember this. There are 4.6 billion cows on the planet. Every single cow puts out 55 gallons of methane gas a day. 55 gallons per cow per day. And methane gas is 23 times more potent, creating much more trouble for our climate change battle than carbon dioxide. So 4.6 billion, 4.2, I think it is, billion cattle on the planet. We've got way too much methane gas being pumped out. It is more greenhouse gas emissions than all first use transportation put together. So when I learned that 9 years ago, and double check my number on the amount of cattle. I feel like I may have that wrong, but I know it's way up there. Just want to give you only 100% correct statistics. We know, watch the film Racing Extinction if you want to hear a lot more about all of this. OPS, Oceanic Preservation Society, directed by Luis Sahoyas, Oscar-winning film director, won the Oscar for The Cove in 2009. He directed Racing Extinction. You can find it online easily. It's been aired in 220 countries and territories around the world, seen by millions and millions of people and counting. And it goes into this in much more depth, discussions about protecting species as well as addressing climate change. But when I learned this, I said, that's it, I'm done eating beef. A plant-based diet is better for you, better for the planet, and the cow doesn't mind that it's no longer ending up on a dinner plate. So do some research on that. But I simply gave up eating beef entirely because of climate change. I can't be hypocritical. I drive an electric car and I'm able to have solar panels at my home that charge my car. So my entire home, this computer today, my cell phone, the coffee I brewed this morning, which I could use it to, all of it, compliments of the sun that is blasting through my window today, thankfully. So there's many things we can do to make a difference, but it doesn't cost more to go to a plant-based diet. So keep that in mind. It's a wonderful way. And remember this, 50% of the world's population relies on seafood as its primary source of protein. And fish live in the ocean. If you want what ends up on your plate to be clean, think about what goes down your drains. Think of all the drains in the world. So let's use better cleaning products, biodegradable dish soap, biodegradable laundry detergent. Use everything you can that's biodegradable, because everything that goes down your shower drain, your dishwasher, your washing machine, all of these cleaning products eventually go through wastewater, eventually go into lakes, river streams, and eventually the ocean. So what is on your dinner plate has come from what you put in the ocean. The straw issue, again, there you go, there's the stat, 500 million plastic straws just in this country alone. And here's just a photo of some friends of mine and I. That was a beach cleanup that we did in about 2 hours on an island off the coast of Maine. And we feel like we have very pristine coastlines here, but that was an hour of cleanup. We can all make a difference to protect this planet. Remember, Earth is your home. It is your home. When someone says, where do you live? You can say Earth, because that's your primary address. There's no planet B. And remember this, 50% of the oxygen we breathe comes from trees and plants, and the other 50% from the ocean. So when we protect sea turtles and sharks, we protect the ocean as well when we care. And when we do all of that, we protect ourselves. I'm gonna go off of screen share here and just close by saying, I am sorry that we weren't able to get to Q&As. There's so much to cover. Hopefully some of those questions ended up being answered as I kept going. And I know I talked a little fast, but I did that so we could cover a lot. And it is an honor to be in touch with all of you. My books can be found at oceaneducationpublishing.com or on Amazon. And I wish you all well, and I hope you fell in love with our oceans at large and some of these species we talked about. And I hope that that love gets put into action.
You were wonderful, and those pictures are beautiful. And there were some questions. So maybe what I'll do is get some questions to you. Very curious fourth grade class from here at Gifford, and they sent you 7 questions that I thought were kind of cute. And you did answer the majority of them, but there were a couple of really good ones in there. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure. Everybody stay well out there. These are trying times. We all have to keep ourselves healthy as well as the planet.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.